It was incredibly important to the Ashanti people that that object remained in their possession, but that's a story we'll come back to. Let's talk about its origin.
In the early 1700s, a man named Osei Tutu, an important king, was able to unify all the surrounding lands.
He created the nation of the Ashanti people.
The Golden Stool falls from the sky and lands in the lap of Osei Tutu.
So this is a miracle.
Absolutely. And this is a wooden stool covered in gold, which was said to have been made in the heavens. Said to be the soul of the Ashanti nation, so it takes on the essence of the entire group.
Stool is more important than any single king of the Ashanti people.
It is far more sacred than the Ashanti Hini himself, and in fact, the Golden Stool is always given its own stool or its own chair on which to sit next to the Ashanti Hini, like we see in this picture.
This is an area that is rich in gold, and the gold comes to symbolize royalty for the Ashanti people.
They were in charge of the gold trade through North Africa. This was long before Europeans were even there. But also gold is the color of royalty. So whether it's gold in the form of a textile color or it's the material of gold, it was reserved for royal use. We have a scale which shows how gold would have been weighed, and it would have been weighed with brass.
So you would use these on one side of a scale and measure out the gold on the other so that you knew you were measuring the accurate amount of gold.
What we find is a whole host of brass weights fashioned into very elaborate figures that depict almost every activity in every part of daily life.
So it's a really wonderful way to learn about the Ashanti people.
The British, certainly since the early 19th century, were interested in securing a way to control gold in this area, and they named this area the Gold Coast. The Ashanti obviously were not wanting to give up their control of this precious material, which had this royal significance.
And in 1874, the British destroyed the Ashanti capital, took lots back to England. Much of it remains in the British Museum collection today.
And one of the objects, of course, that they really wanted to get their hands on was the Golden Stool. They first exiled Prempeh I, that was the Ashanti Hini, in the late 1800s.
The Ashanti people hid the Golden Stool.
The Golden Stool, which was obviously very important, in fact more sacred than Prempeh I himself, was in danger, and the British really tried hard to hunt it down.
The British governor said, and I'm reading here from a record of what happened. He said, "Where is the golden stool? I am the representative of the paramount power. Why have you relegated me to this ordinary chair? Why did you not take the opportunity of my coming to bring the golden stool for me to sit upon?"
This was so offensive to the people of Ghana that a foreigner would come and demand their most precious and sacred object to sit on. This is not a stool anyone was allowed to sit on. In fact, it sat on its own stool. So Ya Asante Wa, a queen mother, assembled all the soldiers she could find to fight against the British.
Now, the Ashanti people were defeated, but the stool remained hidden.
The Ashanti were pretty successful in that they were allowed some autonomy, and by the 1920s, the British even agreed to allow Prempeh I to return, and there was a promise made that the golden stool would not be taken, and the golden stool was allowed to come out of hiding. Men and women are gifted stools by their parents when they come of age, and the idea of stools is really central not just to kingship but to everyday people. And this brass weight in this case is a replica of what a man or woman would sit on but made of wood. So a man and woman's everyday stool used for things like sitting and socializing, sitting and eating, sitting and working. It sounds very ordinary to us, but stools that one uses often take on their sunsum. Sunsum is an Ashanti concept, a traditional idea that your energy, it's like an aura that touches the things that you use a lot. So in order to keep your sunsum intact, when you leave the room, traditionally you would tip over your stool so that no one else would sit on it. They would know that that was not intended for you. In that sense, the golden stool is also kept turned on its side, as we see in this photograph.
So the gold weight tells us something about the importance of stools in the Ashanti culture, but also about a personal energy that over the course of our lives, the objects that we use become imbued with.
That helps us to understand why the Ashanti people say the golden stool is the soul of the Ashanti nation.